I remember reading this last year in the Times Education Supplement about a head teacher, Siobhan Collingwood in Morecambe Bay, and she said that she walked into the hall one day and Mum was crying in the hall that morning. She said nothing had happened particularly. She had tummy pains because she hadn't eaten. And it was her youngest daughter's birthday and she couldn't buy her a present, so Siobhan wasn't terribly sure whether that mum was crying because she was in pain or couldn't buy the present, or both. You know, these are very, very difficult times. COVID has taken its toll across the country. Poverty and deprivation and just money has been very difficult for people, not just this year, but for many, many years. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Heard this on the radio the other morning.
3 days was my longest day without food. You just constantly got the shakes. I was going without food, so my boys was eating. I was just hoping that they would leave some scraps so I could have some.
She's come to pick up a parcel to feed herself and her teenage sons. She lost her job this year, and she's also lost several stone in weight.
And to think that certain politicians, I'm not going to name anybody, said that this is a publicity stunt, this is a fake. We've worked with communities across the country. We were in Leeds last weekend. We know people that are struggling, and this is real, and we've got to do what we can to show some solidarity to these families and to these people. This young man, Marcus Rashford, no surprise to anybody, I don't know if you saw this programme last night, Feeding Britain's Children. This man has dedicated his COVID year, when he had an injury, to standing up for people, for becoming an activist. As this article in the paper said, it's never about him. It's about how he can do things, how he can help people. It talks about how his mother used to miss meals so that he could eat, just like that other mother on Radio 4. These are real people. This is not just not just people who we don't know. These are real people. That mother there lost her job 3 months ago, and she's now waiting for scraps from her children's plates. This is just wrong in this country. Absolutely wrong in this country. When Marcus Rashford is getting stick, people say stick to your football. Well, if he wants to be an activist, if he wants to stand up for what he believes in, then all respect to him, and we've got his back, and many people have, I know. And the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, did a U-turn on the back of the campaigning work that Marcus Rashford did, and many people across both sides of the Houses of Parliament, left and right, Labour, Conservative, Liberal Democrats, supported that gesture to give families free school meals in the holidays. Very moving campaigns. This man last year had an article in The Guardian about how many children don't get presents, schools opening Christmas for their families with nothing. This man, Chris Dyson, is a head teacher at Parklands Primary in Leeds, who has been an absolute rock to us. He's been very supportive, and we actually went up to the school a couple of weeks ago, and we filmed him in front of a green screen, as I am now in a back bedroom at home, believe it or not. This is me. I am faking it. I'm in a green screen studio at home, spare bedroom with a bit of green fabric on the wall and a video camera and a laptop. That's all we're talking about. And we filmed some stuff with Chris, and he introduced me to an amazing man called Boff Wally, who I'd never heard of. Chris said, "Oh, I've got Boff Wally involved, fantastic." And basically, Boff had a band in the 90s, 1997, called Chumbawamba. He was with that band. He co-founded that band. They had a fantastic hit called Tub Thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. Talk about a song for our times, both then and now. And Boff has given us the greatest gift. He's just been so generous. We went up to Parklands Primary because this year Parklands weren't able to run the events that they usually like to run. Every year on Christmas Eve, Chris Dyson gets food, presents, Santas, reindeer, and gives the community, 800 people off that estate, not just the kids from the school, but the whole community, go into that school, because that school is at the heart of that community there on the Seacroft estate in Leeds. Hot meals for people. Many children won't get another hot meal for a few days, a few weeks over the holidays, and Chris Dyson did that for them. But obviously with COVID, that wasn't an option, and so this year Chris did 12 days of Christmas. Every day for 12 days the children had the most amazing time until Ray rocked up anyway, because basically we set the green screen studio up in the school, and those children had a fantastic day of entertainment. It's like being at Blackpool, the pleasure beach there, the lights, the decorations, the entertainment. Chris Dyson did 8 assemblies back to back. He had a fantastic band called the Rock Kids, who did a show for the kids, and we live streamed that to the whole country using the live stream studio that we've got here. Nothing but a bit of green fabric, a camera and some computers. Here's my camera down there. Hello, I'm looking at you. All made possible by a grant from the Arts Council England with funding from the National Lottery. So if you pay £1 a week for the lottery, you're funding crazy stuff like this. And we've done what we can over the summer to engage and to inspire and to connect people. Funding from the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport, and funding from HM Treasury, emergency state aid that was made available as part of a £1.4 billion fund. Much more money is needed for the millions of people who are out of work in the creative industries, across other sectors as well, but I'm not going to go into that one too much now, but we're very grateful for that support. We went up to Parklands Primary. We gave the children all the materials they needed to make lanterns, and we had a light trail on the Saturday night on Zoom because Leeds was in Tier 3. And then on Sunday, we were lucky enough to take a camper van that we'd travelled with, because obviously we had nowhere, we couldn't stay in any accommodation, so we had to take a camper van with all our studio in it, and we drove to Leeds, and we were allowed to camp at Yorkshire Sculpture Park. It really was a fantastic weekend. Last year, Chris Dyson was in the press. He had a fantastic time in the press. The Guardian wrote about him. The Sun picked up on it, and the Sun made him Hero of the Week. And I know there are lots of boos across the country with the Sun, and I'm no fan of the Sun. But when messages like this are put in newspapers like that, the message is going to the widest possible audience. So I stand by that work that Chris Dyson did there, and the fact that he was picked up. But what's really not on is when a paper like The Sun 1 year are celebrating somebody like Chris Dyson, and then the next year are saying this about our teachers, saying that teachers are not heroes. If you've been in a school this year, you'll realise how hard teachers are working, but you won't have seen it because you'll only see what sticks out of the surface. It's like an iceberg. With teachers, you only see the bit that sticks out of the surface, and all those children at home, but it's the children that are cared for, the cared for workers, key workers' children. And for the first few months we were clapping for carers, but Mr Johnson didn't say let's clap for the teachers. They were totally overlooked, and I don't know if this is a bigger agenda, but I'm not going to go into that now. But my point is, we have to show solidarity and support for our teachers and our whole school teams, the head teachers, the brave school leaders who run those schools and at the centre of those communities. We have to show support for our teachers, we have to show support for our cleaners, for the catering staff, the back office staff, the office staff, everybody involved in those schools, and the careers workers as well. We picked up on those the other day. Everybody, it's a whole team effort, as well as the communities they work with and the communities they serve. And that's what this is all about today. Because we are not having headlines like this, we are not having people diss teachers, and this is not a crazy left-wing thing, it's not a crazy right-wing thing. We are only interested in the middle of the ground with this conversation. We want to focus on what we all have in common. And what we all have in common is a support and passion and belief for our children and our communities and supporting the most vulnerable in society. And I know that those sentiments are felt across left and right. And that's what we're talking about. This is not a political statement. This is a policy statement about feeding and looking after our children and our most vulnerable families. We were delighted when Boff Wally did a little duet with Chris Dyson. That's all on YouTube, you can check that out. But Boff, as I said, gave us the greatest gift. Boff, as well as being a band leader in the 90s with his band Chumbawamba, has a band now, an orchestra, a choir now, in fact, a choir called the Commoners Choir. And most generously, he has given us the rights to use one of their songs, Come On In From the Cold. This is a story that tells how Chris Dyson and the community there at Parklands Primary provide that hot meal every Christmas, how they support that community, how Chris Dyson and many school leaders like him across the country, people like Chris Tolson in Bradford, Dave Shakeshaft there in Birmingham, Rachel Snape in Cambridge, Simon Smith in Whitby, Simon Kidwell on the Wirral, Colin Tucker down there in Hayes. Leaders all over this country are working for their communities and providing support and food and well-being as best they can. And it's been a tough year. So for someone like Rod Liddle to come back and say something like that about teachers just is not on at all. So the song that Boff gave us, Come On In From the Cold, is a tribute to leaders like Chris Dyson and talks about how Parklands Primary provide that hot meal. And we're delighted that Boff has given us the use of that song, and we've recorded our own version, which is going on sale tonight, and I'll give you the details in a minute. We're very, very excited about this, and I want to tell you why this is so significant and why this is so exciting. But first, I just want to show you some clips. This is not the edited film. We are delighted that we've edited a few bits together because people like Chris and other teachers and children across the country have contributed to our edit.
So switch off the TV and text all your mates. Head for the one school that opens its gates. Finding the lesson that's served up on plate. Come on in from the cold.
Come on in from the cold. Come on in from the cold.
Come on in from the cold. Well, the cooks and the teachers refuse to give up. Come on in from the cold. And they've cooked up a meal from whatever they've got. Come on in from the cold.
So there you go. Chris Dyson, Rachel Orr, Graham down on the Isle of Wight, and Ed Finch in Oxford, soon to be in Devon. Just some of our contributors. We've got children, we've got parents, we've got everybody has started sending in the videos now. And we've had so many coming in today that we've stopped editing it and going to wait for pull a few more together. So if you'd like to be part of that, go to the website that's in the link on the Twitter or the Facebook or the YouTube, whatever you're watching this on, and send us a selfie. You could sing the whole song, or you could just sing Come On In From the Cold, because that's the bit we want. And we want to make a film with lots and lots of people singing, just like you see here. Lots of people in little video windows, like the biggest Zoom call possible. We want you to be part of this. We want you to be part of our number one, our Christmas number one. And here is why. Because on Friday at 10 to 1, Top of the Pops will announce the number one song. And we want that to be our Xmas number one. We want you to help us take this song to the top of the charts. The song is now available for you to buy for as little as 99 pence. You can pay more if you want to, because every single penny of this is going to a fantastic cause. The single is now available on Bandcamp. Should have got rid of that. Bandcamp is the platform that we're selling this on, because it's the only platform. Bandcamp is the only platform that could get this single up quickly. iTunes and Amazon and Spotify are going to take a few more days, but it's going on to 40 platforms around the world, but possibly not by Christmas. But that's no excuse not to buy it. But what we want you to do is buy it now, because we want this to go to the top of the charts on Friday. So if you want to buy this single, if you can buy this single, if you can afford to buy it, go to this website. This is all going to be on the website, so don't worry about writing it down now. bit.ly, come on in buy, bit.ly/come on in buy. We hope you'll be part of it. Hope you'll help us make this our Christmas number one. And together we can show solidarity for our brave school leaders, our teachers, our children, our communities and everybody, and fight this battle for hunger and support the Trussell Trust in all the great work they do, fundraising for food banks and to drive poverty and food poverty off the agenda in this country. Thank you very much for listening. I do hope you'll support us. Please share this. Please go to the Facebook page, go to Twitter, go to YouTube, share this, and let's get word out. Let's support our communities at this terribly difficult time of year at the best of times.
On a cold winter's morning, all smothered in snow, come on in from the cold. There's a freeze on the city, the schools are all closed. Come on in from the cold. And the kids left at home are all hungry and bored. Come on in from the cold. And the best they can find is leftovers and coke. Come on in from the cold. So switch off the TV and text all your mates. Head for the one school that's opened its gates. They're planning a lesson that's served up on plates. Come on in from the cold. Come on in from the cold. Well, the cooks and the teachers refuse to give up. Come on in from the cold. And they've cooked up a meal from whatever they've got. Come on in from the cold. So take off your raincoat and pull up a chair. Shake off your hunger, there's food going spare. Whatever we've got is whatever we'll share. Come on in from the cold. Come on in from the cold. Children gather for dinner and shake off the street. Come on in from the cold. All their friends round the table together they eat. Come on in from the cold. So take off your raincoat and pull up a chair. Shake off your hunger, there's food going spare. Whatever we've got is whatever we'll share. Come on in from the